Okay, welcome. This is our first monthly marketing munchies for 2020. I'm glad you're here. These sessions are for you. And today's tasty morsel is such an important one. It's a little bit different from our previous sessions. I want to give you some context first. Your purpose statement, which we focus on a lot, that's essentially your mission, but how does that translate to how you run your business, or you intend to if you've got a new business? You have your espoused values, which govern and they foster the actions and behaviors of your team. But that isn't where it stops. And we want to make sure where the rubber meets the road between those things, your impact model, and the general public, has no gaps, because those can be problematic. So in this session, we'll cover what mission alignment is, why it's so important, some models, and we'll dive into the process a little. There's a lot to cover in this, so let's get going. So what is mission alignment? It's simply aligning your whole organization to your purpose, your impact model, and your espoused values, which in essence is your mission, so mission alignment. Gaps in your processes could become problematic by conflicting with this mission. For instance, you may have sustainability as part of your values or your purpose, yet your products may be massively resource heavy to produce or deliver. You may not have thought of that. It might not be you, it could be a supplier, but it doesn't stop at them. In this instance, you could look at an alternative production method perhaps, or an alternative delivery method that's more aligned with your mission. That's just a for instance. So there are two parts to this process. The first is review, where you analyze all aspects of your organization to identify any gaps or any misalignments. The next part is design. That's where you deliberately shape what your organization does and how it does it to authentically realize your purpose, your impact, and your values. This session is designed to get you familiar with some of the aspects and start you imagining how you can reimagine them for your organization where there might be gaps. You'll understand where you need to direct your energies. My goal is to provide you with guidance for designing your processes, for revisiting your products and services, and any activities where it's relevant to do so. Why is it important? Well, mission misalignment is felt by everyone that encounters it, especially your team. When there is misalignment, it causes disengagement because of that lack of trust, that lack of authenticity. And this results in the loss of that team member's creative and discretionary energy, which is a painful loss. I covered this in greater detail in a previous monthly marketing munchie on building a values-led brand. And you have a look at that one, you'll see the difference between a disengaged and an engaged team member. And even if you just look at the bottom line, you need to think about this. In essence, it eats away your culture. Now, from a brand story perspective, authenticity and consistency is key for your customers. So continuously working to identify any gaps that could be problematic by conflicting with your brand story will ensure that your story is strong and stays strong. Now, in my book, Impact Brand Storytelling, I mentioned the Gillette issue. And at the time of publishing that book, Gillette had experienced backlash over its toxic masculinity campaign. Do you remember that? Gillette's "We Believe the Best Men Can Be" depicts men and boys exhibiting bad behavior, specifically bullying, sexual harassment, talking over women, and it then asks, is this the best a man can get? Now, if Gillette was really serious about ending gender discrimination, they ought to start with their own gender equality issues, from the makeup of their internal leadership team to the price difference in between men's and women's products that are essentially the same thing. Women paying more for something just because it's pink? I don't think so. This is why it's important to check all aspects of your business and supply chain to ensure that nothing is contradictory, because you don't want the backlash that Gillette has earned. And there's labels for that: cause washer, green washer. You don't want that. It's hard to recover from that. And when your mission is aligned, it means that you have a holistic brand, holistic culture, and organization. It means that there is a gap-free story for all of your stakeholders. That's everyone from your shareholders to your leaders, your team members, your customers, and the community. Gap-free. It means that there's consistency and strength of your message. That's a powerful one for brand story. It means that there's engagement in all areas, because when you need to check that your partners and your suppliers are aligned with what you're doing, they come to know your story and your why behind it. So it creates that engagement with them, and of course for your team. There is clarity and authenticity. You don't want anyone thinking that you're fake, so don't give them a reason to be. Be whole. And with that wholeness comes confidence for your team and in your brand story. So what do you use to analyze your organization? Now, I have to admit that I never really stopped to think about the supply chain until I watched a documentary which changed everything for me. It was the documentary True Cost. And I was sitting there in tears, realizing how much the race to the bottom with cost in fast fashion obliterated the supply chain. People dying to produce something cheap. Rivers and land getting polluted beyond repair because there's no money in it to do it safely. Most of us, well, I speak for myself, I didn't think about supply chain that way. So this is really an evaluation of the holistic nature of your business. So there are some models that you can look at to explore yours. And I have to say, this was revealing for me. There are a few to look at. You can look at the UN sustainability development goals, sustainable development goals, conscious capitalism tenets, and BCorp certification. Now, given my personal experience, our company is a certified BCorp, and we're a member of the Conscious Capitalism Australia New Zealand. The most revealing model has been the BCorp certification. It is really, really rigorous. So what we're going to do now is explore some of the main aspects for your organization using a top-level view of the certification framework for BCorp. You can go a whole lot deeper and do the full BCorp assessment. It's free to do, and I highly recommend you do it, because you'll get to see the context for some of these questions, because we're only going to look at the high level here. I highly recommend you do it. It doesn't cost you anything unless you decide to go that next step and get BCorp certified, which is a good thing to do. I do recommend that too, but you don't have to. So yeah, a word of warning. Thinking about these things can be quite challenging. They were for me and for my team, and they are again as we go through recertification. They can feel daunting, perhaps even a little overwhelming, and not all of them are simple to solve or quick to solve. The goal here is not to try and just get it all done now, but it's to start you thinking about the holistic nature of your business, all aspects of your business. It's not an exam, more of a checklist to focus on or work through, and see what highlights for you. So we are going to step through the main categories of the BCorp assessment, and I do highly recommend that you do the impact assessment, the free one, to see the full evaluation criteria, because by analyzing all these different facets of your business, you will be able to identify gaps that you may not have seen that could become problematic because they conflict with your brand story, your impact model, your purpose, your values. And when they do conflict, they create misalignment, and that is not what we want. So the first is to check your suppliers and your distributors and your products. You want to make sure that everyone that you use is socially or environmentally responsible, and that you have a practice to evaluate these suppliers. Next is governance. How do you engage with your stakeholders? Have you got a corporate accountability set up? Is there transparency for everyone to see this stuff? And do you have a mission lock? And your workers. Is your compensation and your benefits and your training fair or above fair? Do your workers own shares in the business? Is it a safe work environment, a happy work environment? Your community, diversity and inclusion. You have civic engagement and giving. Is there a local involvement? Do you have local suppliers and distributors? Are you creating jobs for the local community? Environmental, you've got to check this. Is your land and your office and your plant energy and waste efficient? What about your suppliers and your transportation? And customers. Do you have something that impacts them directly in a positive light? So the next step is to design the pathway to resolve or fix some of the issues. Now again, if you go deeper with the impact assessment, you will see how these things, how deep these things go. Looking at them at a high level might not give you clarity on them. Mission alignment is felt by those who encounter it and they recognize it. So the key here is to list out any major gaps for your business and start working towards actions that you can take to resolve them. Then design yourself a pathway to do that. If you have these mapped out and you're working towards them, it can give you a powerful story to tell for your team. Everyone will know that you are working on it. There's no perfection here. A brand that does this really well is Patagonia. They know they're not perfect. They're constantly striving to redevelop products, introduce new products to replace those within their supply chain that are not perfect. And this is the thing, if you are transparent with it and you are clear and you are working on that pathway, you don't need to be perfect. You need to just be constantly improving for the benefit of the planet, for the benefit of your people. So I do encourage you to jump online and do that B assessment, the impact assessment. It will be very revealing. It'll be something that your team can bond around and work towards and give you something to strive for. Now, remember, this is your journey. There is no shortcut in this stuff. So go at your pace. It does take time to put these good things in place. And that's a wrap for this one. It was different. And this was finding your mission alignment. And if you do have any questions, reach out. Use the contact form or the message through Facebook or whatever it is and ask away. We're here to help. And until next time, may your days be overflowing with awesomeness and, of course, positive impact. Thank you.